Hey there. Ready for some Gaudí? I was so excited when you sent over Texto Pagado. I just love his work. And while the Sagrada Familia is amazing, I'm with you, there's so much more to Gaudí. What really got me in the source was how it compares Casa Milà, Casa Batlló, and the Sagrada Familia. It's like they're each showing a different side of Gaudí.
That's a great observation, yeah. They really show how his style changed and how he tackled different challenges. Even the nicknames people have for them give you a sense of their personalities. The Stone Quarry, the Dragon.
Okay, so before we get into the details, can we do a quick overview of these three? I mean, Casa Milà is all wavy, like it's made of liquid stone, right? Then you have Casa Batlló, which is so colorful, like some crazy, joyful dragon. And the Sagrada Familia, well, it's just epic in scale.
Exactly. And that comparison table in the source is a handy way to break it down. You see how Casa Milà with its rooftop chimneys that look like abstract sculptures, it really appeals to the art and design crowd. Then you've got Casa Batlló, which seems to attract folks who love that blend of nature and fantasy, probably drawn to those dragon-inspired details and all that natural light.
Yeah.
And the Sagrada Familia, well, that's on everyone's bucket list, right?
Totally. But for me, Casa Milà is calling my name. Can you imagine living in a building that feels like a wave? What was Gaudí thinking when he designed that facade?
Well, think about the context of Catalan modernism. It was all about breaking away from traditional styles, embracing new materials and ideas. Gaudí took that and ran with it. He wanted his buildings to blend with nature, to feel organic, so Casa Milà. Instead of straight lines, he creates this undulating facade, like it's sculpted by wind and water. And it's not just about looks. Those curves actually help with ventilation and light distribution throughout the building.
So it's both beautiful and functional. I love that. And those rooftop chimneys, they look like something out of a Dr. Seuss book.
Right, they're not just chimneys, they're sculptures. Each one is unique. And they really add to the whimsical feeling of the building. Imagine yourself walking among them, with the city spread out below you.
Okay, that's going on my vision board for sure. But now I'm curious about Casa Batlló. All that dragon imagery, it's so playful. Did Gaudí have a thing for dragons or something?
Well, there are a few theories about that. Some say the facade, with its dragon scales and eye-shaped windows, represents the legend of St. George slaying the dragon. Others see it as a symbol of Catalan pride. But whatever the interpretation, it's clear that Gaudí was having fun with this design. He was known for incorporating natural elements into his work. And here, he's using them to create a sense of fantasy and whimsy.
And speaking of nature, you mentioned all that natural light. Is that why the source talks about Casa Batlló being all about light and shadow?
Absolutely. Gaudí was a master of manipulating light. He used it not just for illumination, but to create atmosphere and emotion. Think about that central patio in Casa Batlló. The way the light filters down through the colorful tiles, it creates this almost magical feeling, like you're underwater or in a forest.
Wow, okay. Now I'm picturing myself in a sunny underwater dragon's lair. My brain is officially blown.
That's Gaudí for you. He'll do that to you. But let's shift gears for a second and talk about the Sagrada Familia.
Ah, yes. The big one. Even though we're trying to go beyond it today, we can't ignore it completely, can we?
It would be impossible. It's such a monumental work, both literally and figuratively. And even though it's still under construction, it's already a symbol of Barcelona and Gaudí's genius. But I think what's really interesting is to think about it in the context of his other work, to see how it both builds upon and departs from his earlier ideas.
I'm all ears. What should we be paying attention to when we look at the Sagrada Familia, knowing what we know now about Gaudí?
Well, think about how he uses sculpture to tell a story. Look closely at those intricate sculptures on the Nativity, Passion, and Glory facades. Each one is a scene from the life of Christ, full of symbolism and emotion. It's like a visual Bible.
And those towering spires. They're impossible to miss. What's the story there?
Those spires are not just decorative, they're deeply symbolic. There are 18 in total, representing the 12 apostles, the 4 evangelists, the Virgin Mary, and of course, Jesus Christ. And the way they point towards heaven is like the entire building is reaching for the divine, striving for spiritual transcendence.
Whoa, it really makes you think about the scale of Gaudí's vision, doesn't it?
It does. He wasn't just building a church. He was creating a testament to his faith, a work of art meant to inspire awe and wonder in all who behold it.
Okay, I'm definitely getting a sense of that awe and wonder just thinking about it. But let's shift gears for a moment and talk about those hidden gems the source mentions. It's like Gaudí's Barcelona is a giant treasure hunt, and we've only just found the biggest jewels.
That's a great analogy. And what's so fascinating about these lesser-known works is that they give us a glimpse into different stages of his artistic evolution. We can trace his development, from those early influences to his later, more experimental work.
All right, lead the way. Where should we start our treasure hunt?
Well, if we're talking about whimsy and playfulness, we have to start with Park Güell. Imagine a park where the benches are undulating, colorful mosaics, the structures look like gingerbread houses, and the columns resemble giant tree trunks. It's like stepping into a fantastical world.
Wait, so it's not just a part with some Gaudí touches. It's a full-blown Gaudí experience.
Oh, absolutely. Gaudí designed everything, from the layout of the paths to the decorative details on the benches. He even incorporated elements of Catalan nationalism into the design. For example, the famous salamander fountain, also known as El Drac, is thought to represent Catalonia's spirit and resilience.
I love how he weaves those layers of meaning into his work. Okay, so Park Güell is definitely on my list. What else should we be on the lookout for?
Well, if you're interested in seeing how Gaudí blended his unique style with the demands of a more traditional commission, you should check out Palau Güell. It's a city palace he designed for a wealthy industrialist. And it's fascinating to see how he incorporated his signature elements, organic shapes, natural light, intricate details, into a more formal setting.
So it's like a glimpse into Gaudí's range as an architect. He could do whimsical and fantastical, but he could also do elegant and refine.
Exactly. Palau Güell is a testament to his versatility. And while it might not be as visually striking as Casa Batlló or as awe-inspiring as the Sagrada Familia, it offers a unique insight into his creative process and his ability to adapt to different contexts.
That's so cool. I'm starting to see how each of these buildings adds another piece to the puzzle of Gaudí's genius. Okay,
Great.
what else have we got?
Let's jump back in time to one of his earliest works, Casa Vicens. It's a residential building that showcases his early influences, particularly Moorish architecture. You'll see a lot of colorful tiles, intricate patterns, and a playful use of geometry. It's almost like a precursor to his later, more fully developed style.
So we can see the seeds of his signature style already planted in this early work.
Precisely. And it's also interesting to note the use of materials. Gaudí was a big proponent of using local materials. And in Casa Vicens, you see a lot of traditional Catalan craftsmanship. It's a reminder that even though he was pushing boundaries, he was still deeply rooted in the culture and traditions of Barcelona.
Now, the source mentions Colonia Güell as being a kind of experimental precursor to the Sagrada Familia. What did Gaudí do there that was so groundbreaking?
Colonia Güell is actually a small industrial village outside of Barcelona. And Gaudí was commissioned to design a church for the workers. Sadly, only the crypt was completed. But even in this unfinished state, it's an architectural marvel.
What makes it so special?
Well, this is where Gaudí really starts to experiment with the structural forms that would later define the Sagrada Familia. He uses catenary arches and hyperbolic vaults, which are incredibly strong and efficient.
Yeah.
And they create these amazing flowing spaces that almost feel like they're defying gravity.
Wait, back up a second. What exactly are catenary arches and hyperbolic vaults? I'm picturing something really trippy.
You're not far off. Imagine a chain hanging freely between 2 points. That's a catenary arch. It's a naturally strong shape. And Gaudí was fascinated by its elegance and efficiency. A hyperbolic vault is a bit more complex, but basically, it's a curved surface that's created by rotating a catenary arch around a central axis. Think of it like a warped dome. These forms allow for larger, more open spaces, and they create these incredible plays of light and shadow.
Wow, I'm getting flashbacks to geometry class, but in a good way. So he's taking these mathematical concepts and turning them into art.
Exactly. And what's so brilliant about it is that these forms aren't just beautiful. They're also incredibly strong and stable. Gaudí was a visionary, but he was also a pragmatist. He understood that form and function should work together.
So he's not just creating art for art's sake. He's creating art that serves a purpose, that improves people's lives. That's pretty amazing. Okay, we've covered a lot of ground here. Any other hidden gems we should know about?
Well, there's one more I'd like to mention, Casa Calvet. It's often considered one of Gaudí's more restrained works, designed in a style known as Catalan modernism. It's a beautiful building, with a more traditional facade and elegant details. But you can still see Gaudí's signature touches in the organic shapes and the use of natural materials.
So even when he was working within a more conventional style, he still found ways to express his own unique vision. It's like he couldn't help but leave his mark.
Precisely. And I think Casa Calvet is a great example of how Gaudí's work can surprise you. You might go in expecting something wild and whimsical, and instead, you find something subtle and sophisticated. But even in its restraint, there's a sense of artistry and innovation. That's unmistakably Gaudí.
Okay. We've explored the Sagrada Familia, we've uncovered some hidden gems, and I feel like I'm starting to understand Gaudí on a deeper level. But if someone were to ask me, what's the one Gaudí building I absolutely have to see in Barcelona? I honestly wouldn't know where to begin.
I understand. It's like trying to pick a favorite child. They each have their own unique personality and charm. But based on what you said about your own preferences and what we've learned from Texto Pagado, I have an idea.
Okay, lay it on me. I'm ready for my Gaudí prescription.
For you, I think Casa Batlló might be the perfect fit.
Really? Why Casa Batlló?
Think about it. You love that blend of art, nature, and fantasy. You're drawn to color, light,
Yeah.
and those whimsical, almost surreal details.
True, true. But what about Casa Milà, with those amazing terraces and the feeling of being inside a sculpture?
Casa Milà is incredible, no
Yeah.
doubt. But Casa Batlló has that extra layer of playfulness, that sense of wonder. That I think will really resonate with you. Remember that light-filled patio? Those swirling staircases? The dragon-inspired facade? It's like stepping into a fairy tale.
Okay, you've convinced me. Plus, it doesn't hurt that Texto Pagado says Casa Batlló is right on Passeig de Gracia, so I can wander around and soak up the city vibes afterward. It's like a Gaudí pilgrimage, but with shopping.
Exactly. And don't forget to look up at those chimneys when you're on the rooftop terrace. They're like little guardians watching over the city.
I'm making a note of that right now. Okay, so as we wrap up our deep dive into Gaudí's Barcelona, I'm left with a feeling of, I don't know, it's like my brain has been stretched in the best way possible.
I know what you mean. It's that Gaudí effect. He makes you see the world differently, with a sense of childlike wonder and appreciation for the beauty in unexpected places.
Totally. It wasn't just about the buildings. It was about understanding his philosophy, his process, the way he saw the world. And now I have this burning desire to see it all for myself.
That's the best takeaway you could ask for. And remember, even though we've covered a lot today, we've only scratched the surface. There's so much more to discover about Gaudí, about Catalan modernism, about the history and culture of Barcelona.
So what you're saying is, this is just the beginning of my Gaudí journey.
Absolutely. Think of this deep dive as a map, guiding you towards your own exploration. Now it's up to you to go deeper, to choose your own path, and to experience Gaudí's magic firsthand.
I'm ready for the adventure, and hey, maybe we'll bump into each other in Barcelona someday, admiring the dragon scales of Casa Batlló.
That would be fantastic. Until then, keep exploring and keep that sense of curiosity alive.
Thanks for being such a fantastic guide. And to you, dear listener, keep diving deep. Who knows what treasures you'll uncover at the Leave.